This episode of Hero Movie Podcast is brought to you by listeners like you who believe in value for value. These supporters not only help keep HMP running, but also get our pre- and post-show each week, bonus episodes, voting on the movies we watch, and chances to win cool HMP prizes. Become a true HMPer today by heading on down to patreon.com/HMP and joining the ranks of the awesome today. Now on with the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined again by Sean Keenan.
Oh, hi. I didn't know you were here.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and that's my kind of Amanda Waller.
And let me tell you something, kids. If you found out that there's a little something different going on, the podcast sounds a little bit different than usual. That's because all three of us are in the same room at the same time. This usually happens about once a year.
Yep.
And so Bruce is down here for Heroes Con in Charlotte. And when we're all about, man, we decide to get into the same room together because it's going to sound better that way. And I like seeing these dudes. So,
provided you bring the right XLR cables, it sounds better.
You know what? I'm just going to have to... You're not too far away for me to throw something at you, big boy. This ain't no Skype no more, so you better watch yourself and watch yourself good. On today's episode, we have something very interesting. Now, this is the first time we've had this reward for our Patreon people for some time. I thought, frankly, no one would have the nerve to actually give us that kind of money. But Mr. Carlton Gordon has stepped up to the plate, ladies and gentlemen, and joined in at the Patreon level of $75 this month. My goodness. And when you give us that much money, you get to become our boss and tell us what the heck to do.
Do the Carlton, everybody.
Do the Carlton, I'm doing it right now. So, yeah, that's pretty good. But, yeah, man, so we was like, hey, so when you donate at that level, you get to tell us whatever movie, TV show, whatnot that you want us to do, and we do it, and today's no exception.
Family Matters.
Listen, I watched so much Family Matters growing up, it was ridiculous. Huge Family Matters fan.
Does the robot Urkel count as a superhero? Because Kirkman's a huge Family Matters fan.
He did do some police work at some point.
Guys, it's just that actor in a robot costume.
Stefan is my hero.
Well, look, Stefan, I don't think fought crime. He was just down with the ladies, and so But gosh, man, it's been a long time. I want to call him like Robo Urkel, but that seems too easy.
You're looking at me. I have no idea. I watched maybe 2 minutes of the show.
You're ashamed of society. It's a good show.
I feel confident it was like Urkeltron 5000.
Urkeltron 5000. It went like there was like an. I can't believe I'm talking about how much I know about Family Matters and that robot specifically. He went like super evil one episode, and the voice got all deep. And I don't know if he murdered someone, but it feels like he did.
I'm pretty sure he's who shot Mr. Winslow in one of those Die Hard movies.
Oh, man. Yeah, look, man, if nothing else, it still really will cement in your mind forever.
Was it Michael Winslow? No, that's the guy that does the sounds in Police Academy. Never mind. What was Papa Winslow's name?
It was Carl. Carl Winslow was Reginald Val Johnson is the actor's name. And,
also named Carl in Die Hard, in the movie Die Hard.
Was he Carl in Die Hard?
Yes.
I can't believe that's. Anyways, but this has been your Reginald Val Johnson minute here on HMP.
off the rails already.
Yeah. It doesn't take much, man. But yeah, so, and for those of you that have listened to the pre-show that have patreon.com/HMP, you'll know that there's a lot of rails to be going off of. We got a great, that's the nice part about being here in the same room is we also got a nice big pre-show for you. And if you'd like to get that pre-show, head on down to patreon.com/HMP and join up today, man. But today is not about us. Today is about Mr. Carlton Gordon, who has given us the task of reviewing Justice League Unlimited, episode 26, is it?
Yes.
26, entitled Epilogue. Now, I don't really have a trailer for this or anything because do you know how difficult it is to find trailers for single
For episode
episodes?
26 at that.
The internet is a fount of a lot of things. Cartoon trailers are few and far between, I would say. Specific ones, no less. I don't even think they made them. But let's just pretend that they did. And Bruce, go ahead and act it out.
This week on ER, Terry McGinnis goes into the emergency room with a limp.
Batman. Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond.
Oh, yeah.
Going this week on Fox. I think that's pretty good. I think it works. It makes a lot of sense. But yeah, we're going to be reviewing that today because that was Matt's pick. We're excited to do it, man.
Carlton.
What did I say?
Carlton.
I was thinking about Matt, who wrote this email, everybody.
There you go.
See, I'm already...
Any chance Matt's last name is Winslow?
Gosh, unfortunately not, man. If he was part of the Winslow clan, him and Eddie shared a room together. Boy, I know a lot about Family Matters. Don't I,
you really do. It's surprising.
What was Eddie's dim-witted friend's name that thought the name
Waldo.
of... Yeah,
Waldo Geraldo Faldo. I'm telling you, I know way too much about Family Matters.
Do you remember what he thought the name of the movie JFK was?
Jifk.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dude, I know.
Jifk. I saw Jifk.
You mean JFK? I know how it's spelled. I loved Waldo. What a great dummy.
Again, you're looking at me. I've never seen an episode.
This is why, because you're missing the gold.
No, I don't think I've missed anything at all.
Such gold. I don't. Oh, all right, I could go on for.
I'm a generation behind you, so everything.
You're right, and frankly, I was too old to be watching it when I was watching.
Oh, really? Because my jam was Growing Pains, and I know everything there is to know about Growing Pains.
See, I'm all Punky Brewster because maybe the world is blind.
My favorite,
just a little unkind.
My favorite Growing Pains was the Leonardo DiCaprio where he poured all the booze down the sink because he didn't want old Mr. Seaver there to beat him.
I like the episode of Boy Meets World when Van Vader showed up.
Oh my gosh, I was a big Boy Meets World fan.
I was in college, man. I was way too old to be enjoying that show.
I was still too old to be enjoying it, but yet I did for a lot of shows. Anyways, let's get to the email.
So how'd you do with the ladies, you guys?
Not too well. Not too good.
The first dates would always go well until I started talking a little too much about Topanga.
Listen, you're nice and good and all, but that Topanga, let me tell you, that's a free spirit right there. The first episode where she's like drawing stuff on her face, that should have been a red flag to that dude right off the bat. Like they dialed her hippiness way down. Like she just took like lipstick and painted it on her face and was just like praying to the sun gods. And I'm just like, is this not telling you to run away from this girl who will eventually, at some point in her life, stab you to death? Run away, my friend. Run away. This email's from Matt.
I also like Step by Step.
Listen, if you want me to go on another...
He's literally setting you up
He's just
now.
going through the TGIF lineup because he knows that I watched it
I was
all.
really into Sasha Mitchell until he beat his wife.
Well, yeah, when you beat your old lady, that kind of puts a damper on things that are fun. Speaking of things that are fun, let's talk about Matt's email for crying out loud. It's entitled Last Episode. Hey, fellas, just a couple of hopefully helpful observations for the last episode. All right, hopefully Matt's not digging back into that dark territory that he was a couple episodes. You were trying to name Abracadabra from The Flash. This is David Dismalchin. That's the.
I didn't even try to say that name.
Yeah,
so you can't blame me.
And I couldn't say it. That's a. Oh, look, Adam couldn't say something. Who's shocked? And he's amazing, but I agree. This last season goofed up with everything that made The Flash great. Also, Sean there is a Black Wally in the comics. Well before the show. Just to add to your knowledge of Flash lore. Awesome show. Go ahead,
Have you
Bruce.
seen that Pixar movie Black Wally? It's kind of like Shaft, only with the robot.
I would watch a Black Wall. I don't know what it would be, but I would watch a Black Wally.
Any joke I make here is going to be racist, so I say nothing. I will say nothing.
I'm dialing back everything. I'm just like, you know what I could say? Let's not.
I'm not saying any of it.
Let's not. We're keeping this. Awesome show, guys. Keep up the good work. P.S. Bruce, give Rock Candy Mountain a chance.
I've read that, man. I love it.
There you go. It's Rick and Morty meets Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Hey, I said hi to Kyle Starks today, so there.
Yeah.
He's the writer and artist of Rock Candy Mountain. Love it. Spear of Destiny's in it.
Put that on your mantle. I don't know. Thanks for all the joy, boys. You're awesome. Matt from Florida, a.k.a. the HM Creeper.
A hobo fist fights the devil in it.
Of course it does.
I don't. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome, I guess.
Seems apt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for the email. If you'd like to send us an email us at heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. All right, so let's get into it, gentlemen. Justice League had many iterations as a cartoon. This one is called Justice League Unlimited. This is the last episode of the first season, and I believe Bruce has a little comic book connection for us.
See, I can't hear the stinger.
Listen, I'm going to edit it all in
It
post.
is time for the comic book connection.
Live. There you go.
Right.
I'm not editing jack squat now.
Well, Terry McGinnis was created by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, and he first appeared in the pilot episode of the animated television series Batman Beyond in 1999. Now, Countdown to Final Crisis introduced Earth 12, which was an alternate universe with its own version of Terry McGinnis and the other Beyond-like characters. Now, in Batman number 700, written by Grant Morrison, this was the first comic that actually depicted Terry McGinnis as existing in the future of the Batman that we know and love in the pages of DC. In Batman number 700, it turns out that Grant Morrison had a little fun with the origin story of Terry, because Terry McGinnis's mentor is not Bruce, but rather Damian Wayne in that comic book. And of course, if people are familiar with that Grant Morrison run, Dick Grayson was serving as Batman, so he didn't want to have a Bruce Wayne in the future when we were all supposed to believe he was dead, I suppose. But anyway, in the early days of the New 52, DC did something that I think was horribly misguided, and they wrote Terry McGinnis out of Batman history, and they had Tim Drake become Batman Beyond. However, in 2016, with DC's rebirth, Terry became Batman once again. He was a former member of a street gang that was run by a young racketeer named Charlie Big Time Bigelow. And I got to tell you, man, that would be that was my professional wrestler name when I used to wrestle at the Grayson Armory in Eastern Kentucky. But anyway, Terry had his fair share of run-ins with the Gotham City Police. At age 14, while his parents were going through a divorce, he ended up serving a 3-year stint in the old juvie hall. Now, 20 years after Batman is last seen on the scene, Terry finds himself on the run from the Jokers. The Jokers, of course, are a street gang who've modeled themselves after the long-dead Gotham City legendary criminal named the Joker. Now, Terry goes onto the grounds of Wayne Manor to escape the Jokers, and there he runs into a really old, crusty version of Bruce Wayne. There's a strain of a fight against the Jokers because the old man tries to defend the young man, and Bruce Wayne's weak heart starts to give out, so that Terry has to give Bruce his heart medicines to save his life. Bruce falls asleep. Terry notices a bat stuck inside a grandfather clock. Bada bing, bada boom. Next thing you know, he's in the Batcave. That same night, they also find out that the evil CEO of Wayne Industries, a company that he acquired by a hostile takeover, has killed Terry McGinnis's parents. Is this gripping stuff, guys?
Totally gripped.
Well, in the comic books, it just so happens that evil CEO ordered a hitman to kill Terry McGinnis's parents, and that hitman was the great-grandnephew of Joe Chill. So what do you think of that?
Sounds convenient.
Too much of a coincidence.
Sounds a little convenient there.
Well, in Batman Beyond, we find out that what actually caused Bruce Wayne to hang up the cowl is the fact he had gotten so out of shape that he had to rely on a gun to fight crime, so he decided to give it up. But Terry McGinnis steals a high-tech batsuit to go get revenge for the murder of his parents, and next thing you know, he's Batman Beyond. In order to come up with a reasonable cover story, the millionaire Bruce Wayne hires Terry McGinnis as his personal assistant and chauffeur, and he begins secretly training him for his new role as the Dark Knight. Later on in his career as Batman Beyond, Terry meets Amanda Waller. She tells Terry that while he does not possess Bruce's level of deduction and analytical skills, he does possess the same heart. So though he wears the weird future batsuit and people call him Batman, I honestly think this story really fits right at home among the Robins. What do you guys think?
I'm just surprised they didn't just go, "Hi, Batman Beyond." You ever meet those people that just go, "Oh, you're Batman Beyond"? Well, he's from Batman Beyond. Technically, he's just Batman.
Look, it's not Frankenstein, it's Frankenstein's monster.
Precisely.
So my question to you, Bruce, is that so timeline-wise, I'm guessing that the Batman Beyond comes out first, right? And then DC Comics then...
Yes, absolutely.
Like they did with Harley Quinn.
It's the Harley Quinn route. Yep. Because...
How like amazing does that got to be for you as a creator that you've got two big things that you just, I don't say muscled in because that sounds like it's bad, but you got into the...
I would imagine when you're Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, it's like number 30 on the list of things to be proud of.
Well, that's a good point.
That's a pretty good idea. That's a pretty good thought.
Fair enough.
That's a good thought. Because I was thinking the other day, because it looks like, Timothy Zahn creates Thrawn, right? Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for a minute I was thinking of Steve Zahn.
I was
so I'm
about
back
to
on
say
track.
Steve Zahn, not the guy you're thinking of. Why did I know that that's where you were going?
I don't know if I'm reading the tea leaves wrong, but it really does feel like one of the standalone movies that's going to be coming out here in the next couple of years is a Thrawn movie. And if that's the case, Timothy Zahn goes from, oh, that guy's a very successful novelist to, that guy is a billionaire.
Yeah.
Who used to be a novelist. And so I'm wondering when it comes to things like Harley Quinn, Harley Quinn is such a wildly successful character. If their lives are forever altered because of the success of that character.
When I see him, I'm just going to be like, how much bread do you
I have no idea what rights creators are entitled to.
Right.
I know that they're entitled to something, but I don't know that just having her in the comics makes that much more money than they're making from the animated stuff. Well, I really don't know.
Well, I'm not even thinking of the comics. I'm thinking about the movies.
Yeah. And that's a recent
if they got
thing,
the old
though.
Marvel
Yeah.
DC deal, they got a nice pat in the back and just, hey, go get me another coffee.
Yeah.
Kind of, they got jack squat back then.
Yeah, I'd be interested in learning that, and I know somebody who knows Timothy Zahn, so I'm actually going to say, hey,
he's usually out at like Dragon Con and stuff like that.
I'll never be there ever.
He's
well,
you will never see me at a Dragon Con.
And I don't know, I don't know what DC's deal is in terms of the money with that stuff, but I get the idea that Fabian Nicieza hasn't seen windfall money from Deadpool. I get that idea. Pretty distinctly.
Because it's going to be a Bill Finger thing with him, I think.
No, he's got full creator rights, but it's all work for hire stuff, and I think that there's not that much that goes to him. I don't think that Liefeld gets that much for it either.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Because I thought that they even tried to change his name in the early 2000s from Deadpool to like something else, Mutant
Red
X.
Tool. Oh, there was a Mutant X time. Yeah, there was a time when the ownership of the character, I think, was in question. But I think it might have had more to do with like Ann Nocenti than it did with Robert Fabian. But I could be way off on that.
Wow.
Bruce with the pulls, everybody. Bruce with
Man
the pulls.
alive.
But just to set a little bit of kind of the groundwork of what we're talking about here with Epilogue, Batman Beyond, the Bruce Timm Paul Dini television show about Terry McGinnis in the future. For the entire run of that show, Terry McGinnis was always in high school, kind of the Spider-Man idea. He never graduated from high school.
Right.
But
Mostly because he's dumb.
But this show that, well, it was also only on 2 years. But this episode that we're watching, Terry McGinnis is clearly out of high school. He's an adult, maybe on the cusp of 30, do you think? He's still not married, but he's thinking about getting married kind of thing.
Yeah, he's about the age of Batman, like, you know, proper Batman.
So some unseen time has passed before this comes up, and that's important to know. And it's also important to know that the TV show Batman Beyond was no longer on the air when this episode aired. Also, there had been a movie that I won't say too much about, other than it was Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, where the Joker returned, and I won't spoil that for people.
And I know that in the I don't want to give away that twister either, because that's a great twister in that movie. So
they say he returns in the titles.
So here's the.
Sorry, everybody.
So before during the pre-show today, we were given our two bits about Batman Beyond, and I think it would be probably a pretty good idea to start talking about where we stood before we watched this show today. This episode of HMP. Where are we on Batman Beyond? I'm
pretty well versed on Batman Beyond. I have a pretty good respect for it, enjoy it, but it's not something I go out of my way to take in. It's like, moderately positive feelings, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like I watched a decent amount of it, but I don't really remember any of it. It didn't have the indelible impression on me that Batman the Animated Series did. And to me, like, that was...
Did you notice the music when this episode opened?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but everything was like... But with Batman Beyond, it seemed... I don't want to say like the also ran, because that kind of diminishes it, because I don't think it's not like the Cousin Oliver of
right.
Batman cartoons.
Right.
But it's not... Batman the Animated Series is just something...
Yeah,
something unreal to itself.
This episode was the first time that the theme music from Batman the Animated Series had been used on anything other than Batman the Animated Series. So that's kind of a little bit of trivia I was going to drop there.
That's neat. I did not know that. I'll tell you that to me, I loved Batman Beyond. I was of an age where I'm not going to go out of my way to see Batman Beyond. But I really liked the premise behind it. I liked that Bruce Wayne was around. It seemed like they had nods to the old Gotham City, but not so many where it seemed ridiculous, like the way that the Marvel Ultimate series were getting, where there was an ultimate version of everyone that was in the 616 Marvel.
And one thing I think I liked about it is it gave us an alternative version of old Bruce Wayne compared to what Frank Miller had given us, because
Right.
it is a very different Bruce Wayne.
Yes, yeah, like he's a little more, he's a lot more jokey. He's it seems
but
like
still very grumpy.
yes, but it's
And all alone, man, in the
Yeah.
Batman Beyond future.
and it seems like there's a lot of
Could you imagine like 108-year-old Alfred?
I was
going
going to say, I would have loved that, actually. It would have been my favorite part.
Could I have the day off? Alfred, I need you to cook my dinner. Sir, the iron lung doesn't make it well for me to make you dinner.
Like, I want to see the really old Alfred being ordered to chop some wood or something.
what happened to my finger sandwiches, old man? And the other thing about Batman Beyond that I really liked was the character of Terry McGinnis is clearly not trying to be the most awesome, cool guy in the room, which
Yeah.
they always make that mistake when they're bringing up a new, especially in the 90s, they're bringing up a new, like, cool, more awesome version of this character that you've known and loved forever. I thought that was great. You know what?
To my memory, there's some reluctancy in what he's doing.
Right.
A lot.
Well, I mean, he dons the uniform. He dons the mantle simply to kill the people that killed his parents, purely revenge driven. And then Bruce Wayne, who has some remote control power over that suit, kind of directs him towards being Batman.
You ever wonder if he just makes him dance?
Oh, I'm sure he does.
And just be like, look, I'm an old man. I need some entertainment. Television ain't what it used to be back in the day. I'm going to make this boy dance around in this Batman costume that I control.
I'm going to teach you something that back in my day we called the Macarena.
Be my bat chair. So a good comparison for me, because it's another series that I really liked, was Spider-Man 2099. I think that the 2099 series were all awful, except Spider-Man 2099 was fantastic.
Miguel O'Hara, right?
Yep. And I think that is a grossly overlooked version of Spider-Man, just because the rest of 2099 was awful. That whole version of the Marvel Universe was terrible. But Miguel O'Hara was really fun and really great. And I like the costume changes, but there's still the throwback to, there's a lot of explanation as to how he gets the suit, how everything happens, blah, 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 blah. What this is, Batman Beyond to me is the DC version of Spider-Man 2099, where it's another character where look how much more awesome this guy is than Peter Parker. Like, they're not doing any of that, like it's fun. There's nods to the old days, but not so many where you're like, are you kidding me with this garbage?
It feels like a continuation and not a one-up.
Exactly, where everything's to the extreme.
Yeah, especially in the 90s, when most of this stuff ended up happening there, for sure.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of like how the Green Hornet was the Lone Ranger's great-grandson or something like that, so a mild update without going off the rails.
Yeah,
right.
Only no Kato for Terry McGinnis.
Wouldn't it be interesting if we had a Kato? But he's a dog.
Ace the Bat Hound was a big part of Batman Beyond.
We got you, Dino Mutt.
Oh, I love Dynamite.
Me too. I'm interested in thinking and asking you guys what you guys think about Justice League Unlimited. Also,
I love that show, man, and that show has got the casting right for characters, even though it's just voice casting. They would have been the perfect actual live action casting. I mean, my Amanda Waller is always going to be Pounder, and of course,
don't email us, people. It's just what he does. Just let it lie.
And
just
then,
let it lie.
You know, they nailed it with Lex Luthor in this series with Clancy Brown.
Oh yeah,
that honestly, like, and I didn't watch a ton of it because I don't know why. I couldn't really tell.
Well,
you.
I think I can tell you why that is, Adam. Is because much like me, I came to Justice League Unlimited so late to the party because there were 15 different incarnations of Batman and the Justice League and Superman, and it got to a point where it was like, I'm not paying any attention to this stuff anymore.
And Justice League Unlimited was essentially canceled after the first season. Then sort of a last-minute reversal of fortune, it got a second season, and that kind of explains a little bit about this episode as we start talking about the specifics. But at this point, Bruce Timm thought that he was never going to do anything else for DC Animation.
And I guess at this point, like I'd already, like you said, Batman already off the air, Batman Beyond already off the air, and I'm more of a...
The New Adventures of Batman off the air.
Yeah, and even that one, I don't think I even watched that much, but it was just like... And if I'm to pick anything in DCU, it's Batman. I'm a Batman guy. I've never really been a Superman. I'll read a Superman book if you give me one. I'll read some Flash if it's some good stuff. But by and large, I've just been pretty pure Batman. So when it's just like, hey, here's the whole thing, it just didn't. And the aesthetic was so much different. I mean, the aesthetic on Batman the Animated Series was just, I love it. I love everything that they did with that futuristic Art Deco style that totally works. And
it's the retro futuristic thing.
Yeah, and all the Justice League stuff was very bright, very poppy.
Yeah,
and I'm like 16 or something, so I don't want to. I want the dark stuff.
Sure, of course, because you're deep when you're 16 years old.
But personally, I found JLU to be so much more enjoyable for me than Justice League.
You said that with a smarmy look on your face. I don't know. I don't know to take that real or fake.
But the immediate predecessor to the show, Justice League, then there's sort of this big crisis as Justice League ends, and then it turns into Justice League Unlimited. It really skyrocketed in quality and enjoyment, and the kind of stories that they told. And the cast went from basically 7 heroes to around 300 if you look at every hero that was part of Justice League Unlimited. And the whole Cadmus storyline at the end of Justice League kind of rolled so that Amanda Waller stops being so much of an enemy and starts being more of a not quite trusted ally. And I just really enjoy what happened in Justice League Unlimited. And I love the way that they made the Question extremely conspiracy theory type of guy.
Yeah, and again with the casting, that guy that they have playing the Question, you can't find a better guy because it's the same actor that's in. Oh, what is that Michael J. Fox movie? That
Back to the Future.
Christopher Lloyd is the answer.
No.
Biff Tannen.
Guys, stop it! Stop helping me! Stop helping me! It's the movie. Oh my God, this is great podcasting.
Teen Wolf.
It's where he can see dead people.
Oh, Sixth Sense.
The Frighteners.
The Frighteners, Peter Jackson classic, right?
Yes, the guy who is in The Frighteners, who's a conspiracy theory guy, is the guy who is the conspiracy theorist, the Question on JLU.
Perfect, man.
And JLU to me is one of those shows where it's quiet, it's quietly great.
Oh yeah.
And even if you don't like a particular episode of that show, because sometimes like I don't care about who they're featuring that on that episode, just go to the next one and you will like it.
And it was JLU, Justice League Unlimited, that decided, you know what, we're going to kind of go ahead and just merge Rorschach with the Question. And when they made the Question so conspiratorial, it kind of has little rings of the character of Rorschach. And that's like my all-time favorite character. So that was probably a big plus for me with Justice League Unlimited.
When do Rorschach and the Question meet up?
There was a comic book where it was sort of an Elseworlds thing. It wasn't an actual meetup. But Question, I think, fell asleep on a plane and had a dream that he met Rorschach, and Rorschach was just too crazy for him. So he said he never wanted to do that.
Wasn't there something where they were all in a bar or something someplace?
all of the Charlton
like
characters in the
Officially, Rorschach's yet to appear in mainstream DC.
probably a good idea.
It's going to happen soon, though, the way Rebirth's going.
That's from what I'm to understand.
Superman teams up with Rorschach.
It's a match made in heaven. It's just the Odd Couple 2017.
You're such a mess, Rorschach.
I want to pick up the comic called Rorschach's Pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Kids are clamoring for Jamie Olsen books.
They're both gingers.
Yeah,
But this episode, this epilogue, I mean, it's named epilogue because it kind of wraps up. Well, I think Bruce Timm really wanted to wrap up a lot of unfinished work with this. And it kind of wraps up really well, Terry McGinnis's story, but it also kind of wraps up Amanda Waller's Justice League through Justice League Unlimited story and gives us a little insight into her. It kind of wraps up in a weird way Batman's story with the flashback to him dealing with the Royal Flush Gang.
Yep.
And, it's also, Bruce Timm was, I don't want to say nobody, but he wasn't Bruce Timm until Batman the Animated Series. Right. And there are references to the first episode of Batman the Animated Series in this. And like I said before, he thought this might be, he was certain that this was going to be his final project with DC. Little did he know there'd be another season of this show and then eventually Gods and Monsters. But he thought this was it.
It's terrific, too. What a gift. What a gift we got from Carlton on this one, because he could have we could be watching Tank Girl.
When
we already watched that, so we're good.
When do we want to go ahead and talk about the spoiler? I mean, the whole point of this episode is Terry McGinnis finding something out about his heritage.
Well, I do want to talk about this and how this permeates into a lot of Tim's work, and it's certainly prevalent here. Is the adult nature of these, not in as much as, content wise, but this is something that you watch and you just go, what 7-year-old's watching this going, yeah, they're not.
But I don't think,
and that's not a bad thing. I'm not.
I think that this series works like the way that Batman the Animated Series works, where it's for both parties. It's for adults and the kids.
I think Bruce Timm's work, and I hate to keep leaving Paul Dini out, but Paul Dini didn't write this episode. It was McDuffie and Bruce Timm, so I'm going to talk about Bruce Timm's perspective. But like the Timmiverse, as some people call it, I think it aged exactly with the people that were in it. Like if you were Batman the Animated Series age, season 1 of that, by the time Justice League Unlimited's giving you epilogue, this is like 15 years of time or something, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. But so it aged right along with the viewer. And, Bruce Timm intended for his folks to be watching this all along. He wasn't trying to continually bring in 12-year-olds. He was just producing for his following the whole time.
So. Wow. He'd been going for 15 years.
Well, when did TAS start? 91?
I was in high school.
So it started just after the first Batman movie. So probably, just before Return. So I'd say it's probably 91, 92-ish.
It's before that because the first Batman is 89.
This, all right, so I'll give you a thing. This episode aired January 23rd, 2005. Let's do a little backtrack.
Right. So if it started in 90, that's 15 years.
Wow. Man, it's so hard to believe that was all going on for 15 years.
But the 12-year-old's now 27, so it makes sense to me.
Right. No, completely. And it's a smart move too, keeping your core there, and then hey, if people want to follow along, they can. That's a really smart move, man.
So it's
like Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to reference. The way Rowling had her stories age right along with the people reading them.
Man, so smart.
Give me half a second. They go backwards in seasons. I'm thinking it's probably around 91 because season 3 was in 94, so it's probably 91.
So we're 14 years instead of 15 years.
Well, I
mean,
so
same idea.
It's so surprising to me that it was that literally they were working for that long. Generally when you're creating an animated property, you end up having to do other things, where you don't get to stay in the same universe. The dude who was working on Care Bears didn't then continue working on Care Bears.
If only he had, man. If we had a Care Bear verse like the Timmiverse, where the Care Bears aged, they'd be right at 45 now.
Mauling people with their love.
The Care Bear stare would have a whole different meaning.
Don't feed the Care Bears.
Yeah, 92.
92.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 14 instead of 15, but that's, come on, 1 year.
Yeah, and
You
also,
failed, Leslie. Get over it.
so here's the thing about Justice League Unlimited, right? So there's good episodes, there's great episodes, there's some episodes that just aren't for me, so I can't say that they're bad. They just weren't made for me.
Yeah.
And so when you come across an episode like Epilogue here, like episode 26,
Yeah.
it is such a hidden gem that even if you didn't follow religiously Batman Beyond, you can pick up right away.
If you have a semblance of what Batman Beyond is.
Well, I mean, they
passing
explain the
knowledge
Batman
of.
Beyond project in this. I think you could watch this standalone and catch on just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because it's so well written. And I told you guys in the pre-show, I know I'm known as the guy who bashes cartoon properties because they're so mediocre. They're so poorly done. This is not one of those things. It's to me cartoons are like stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy when it's great, but equal parts when it's bad, I can't watch it.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with cartoons here where why are we watching yet another DC Direct thing that is just puked out for no other reason than because Wonder Woman movie's coming out? That's literally the only reason why.
We need to make some bread, and this
is not what this
name.
is. This is something completely different. Dr. Fate is in an episode. Dr. Fate, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome. Booster Gold has his own shortcut on this. Like that's awesome.
I mean, they have Stargirl and Stripe in this series.
Right. I mean, it's so cool. It's so neat that again, do yourself a favor. If you have 20 minutes, you could do a lot worse than watch an episode of Justice League Unlimited.
And here's the thing, kids. Available on Netflix. Yeah,
totally,
I know
all of it, the entire series.
I know all you kids got it out there. I know you kids with the Netflix and stuff. That's what you do.
You watch the movies at home now.
Yeah, don't go outside of the house. Can't blame you. Sun is hot. Get you burnt.
Well, can we talk a little bit about the spoiler, the turn, the purpose for this?
You should totally get into that, Bruce.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
spoiler from here on out for the episode if you haven't seen it. But again, it's 20 minutes. It's on Netflix. Do yourself a favor.
Well, the revelation that sort of slowly unfolds is that Terry McGinnis has Bruce Wayne's DNA mixed with his mother's DNA. So Terry McGinnis gets very bitter, thinking that Bruce Wayne is such a control freak that he is who did this, and goes to find Amanda Waller because he thinks she may have information about how Bruce Wayne did this. And then it's revealed that it was actually Amanda Waller who is behind all this.
I kind of wanted Bruce to just be like a bit of a horn dog. Just kind of get on out
Well,
there. And just be
Amanda Waller has some fun with this because she said, it was easy enough to get Bruce Wayne's DNA. He left it all over town. And she goes, not even remotely what I meant. And so we do get a little bit of that. And I'm a huge Amanda Waller fan, particularly old school, what do we call her? Fat and sassy Amanda Waller. That's
right.
my Amanda
Big and
Waller.
sassy.
The Shirley Hemphill version of Amanda Waller. But she has another funny line here that I cut and paste so I could read it. But she says, look at this. A pill for my blood pressure, a pill for my diabetes, a pill to replace my pituitary function. I don't even know what this pill's for. Oh, yeah, Alzheimer's. Like, there's some really good Amanda Waller fun here. It's a really nice bookend to Amanda Waller. She is one of those devious, sinister people that will put the mission above all else. She's the only person who's a match for Bruce Wayne in that regard. And when we find she's ultimately behind it, but then I wonder, is this kind of like just a little bit of an inversion of, Luke, I'm your father here, where he finds this out and it's, a little bit of a sinister hand guiding behind it, almost like I guess Waller would be the emperor in this scenario. But
Now I'll say this, and I want to give a good props to this because they do something that most others wouldn't in these animated programs. They properly aged Amanda Waller.
Yes.
They did such a great, because like any other show, they'd be like, you have gray hair now and we'll put a couple of bags under your eyes.
Yeah.
They shrunk her down. They made her like she looks like a little old lady version because we see a flashback to the younger Amanda Waller, much more stout, ready to go.
She looks like a wall.
Younger. Exactly.
the one who poked her finger in Batman's face and backed him up against the wall, saying, "You better watch out, rich boy. I know who you are," or something like
And
that.
this, and now we have a diminutive, older lady who, is serving tea.
Yeah.
But you buy it.
And the revelation that she's deeply religious, that's something that you'd find inconsistent, but at the same time makes sense.
Total sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Makes total sense. And I got to tell you that having that extra step is what saves this entire premise. Because if you only have Terry McGinnis be Batman's kid, it's awful. That is poorly done.
It seems silly and cliche and like something a fan would just write. That wouldn't be good.
Right.
That just kind of like, oh, well, we let little Jimmy write an episode here. Guess what he did? Like, no, we thought this out a little bit more than just slapping some stupidness on it.
And I like it that it's the first time the phrase Batman Beyond is ever spoken in a Bruce Timm property. It was in this episode when she calls it Project Batman Beyond, and the world always needs a Batman. Something that the comics built on that doesn't come out in the show that would have probably made this episode even a little better is the fact that Terry McGinnis has a younger brother who is also the product of Project Batman Beyond, because her thought is, hey, if Terry can't cut it, we're going to kill him and make his brother the new Batman.
Wow, what an added wrinkle. Oh man, that's great.
And that's something you get from the comics, a little bit more information on it.
Who is that? Who's writing that?
It might still be Grant Morrison at this point in time, but I'm not positive.
Sounds Grant Morrison-esque, doesn't it?
When that dude's humming, man, that guy, man, I love me. Good Grant Morrison. Give that to me every time.
And when he's at his worst, he writes something like, "Be careful, this comic book page is going to wrap around your head, pull you in, and guess what? You're actually in the comic. The comic is reading you."
And then Beast becomes a cat.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, Beast's a cat now. Do you want to shoot yourself in the face?
Look,
Boy,
I didn't say that I love all Grant Morrison. I said I love good Grant Morrison.
I like it when he's laying off the cough syrup. Yeah. Now, a couple of things I guess I wanted to mention. There was something else I thought I wanted to throw in there along those lines about, the assassin. The plan originally was to try to recreate Bruce Wayne so closely that they had a plan for when Terry McGinnis is coming out of the movie theater for his parents to be killed in an alley.
Right.
Now, did you guys recognize the assassin?
It's the Phantasm.
I know, and how awesome, because that's a Bruce Timm, it's his first movie. And he's tying so much together here.
And what are they walking out of? The name of the
Gray
movie?
Ghost Returns, which for
Crazy.
fans of Batman the Animated Series, young Bruce Wayne watched the Gray Ghost on TV, and that was part of what inspired the look of Batman.
Voiced by Adam West, by the way.
Everything. I mean, Bruce Timm, he is pulling down his pants and walking out of the office with his butt cheek hanging out because he thinks it's his last day at work. He's putting it all in here. Everything. And, the way that the episode ends with Terry McGinnis flying past the hovercraft, and it's like the bat silhouette, and the cop goes, "What was that? Was that a bat?" That's the first line of Batman the Animated Series when Man-Bat flies past a Gotham City police officer who might have been in one of those Zeppelins they loved. I don't know. But, he ends it with the exact same line that he started it with.
Man, that guy's good. This just in, Bruce Timm is pretty good at his job.
It's almost Dream a Little Dream level with how this book ends.
Oh, that's awesome. It has been a very, very
I was about
long
to say,
time.
now, for those of you who are new to HMP, go back and listen to the back episodes. That's why they're there. You're going to find some gems.
The very first word of Dream a Little Dream is Dinger, and the very last word is Bobby. And, of course, Dinger and Bobby are the two Corys, so that sums it all up. Perfect book into a movie.
Oh, man. It sounds like you've watched that thing like the Zapruder film.
I've watched it over 100 times, no joke.
Wow.
So
you see in this frame here, the Feldman licks his lips just a little bit because he's ready to say the line. You can tell he's got it chambered and he's ready to go.
I remember the dress that you wore. I even know the bad songs from that movie. So let's talk about the Royal Flush Gang. Because Amanda Waller says it's the third version, the fourth version, the second version. I can't keep track because that's so true about the Royal Flush Gang.
I hate them
I've never seen the same lineup twice.
No, and they're always terrible, and it's all ridiculous, and it's just basically it's a straw man.
You know why that is, right? Union dues.
Now, I don't know who gets the credit for this. I don't know if it's McDuffie. Is it McDuffie was the guy that co-wrote this with Tim? I don't know if it's Duffy or McDuffie because I don't want to get it confused with Troy Duffy.
I think it was Duffy from MTV.
It was Troy Duffy. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the Royal Flush Gang that we see, because this is kind of a quasi-original version. McDuffie. Okay. Well, number 10, the Royal Flush Gang is 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace.
Right.
So number 10 was wearing a white swimsuit with blonde hair and cornrows like Bo Derek from the movie 10.
Right. I caught that.
Okay, so Jack is a samurai, and he puts a spin on the Cartoon Network show in production at the time, Samurai Jack.
Which has just finished up its entire run.
And he's, okay. So Queen is revealed to be a man dressed as a woman. Pretty obvious. And then King looks like MODOK. You guys picked up on that?
That one was easy.
And that's Jack the King Kirby that made the king.
Oh, wow.
Okay. No, good on you.
Very clever.
And I'm not who discovered this. I found this list of who they were, but I just thought I'd share that with people.
That is pretty sneaky.
And I don't know any more good trivia to throw out there. I think I've already thrown it all out there.
That's some good trivia.
Not too shabby.
But, just to, once again, to make it clear, this was, this was assumed to be Bruce Timm's final Warner Brothers animated project. So we get all that wrap up, and that's why we get the mirroring of Man-Bat from the first scene of Batman the Animated Series. We get the Batman the Animated Series intro music, and instead of police blimps, we get the hover cars.
Ah, so good, man.
And I'll still say this, and I'll say it every single time. Kevin Conroy, just genius, just a national treasure. Just put that man.
Because he does the voice of one of the
Rushmore.
cops at the end, right?
Well, he is Batman also.
But I mean,
he's the
But I
the title
think
Batman.
I'm pretty sure that they went out of their way that the last voice you hear in this episode was also Kevin Conroy.
It may be.
It would make sense. I could totally see that.
But and still, just
You sure that this wasn't the Diedrich Bader version of Batman? Or is it Bader? Bader? How do you say his name?
Yeah.
I like him as Batman, but he was in Batman Beyond as this like cyborg android friend of Terry McGinnis's that got his own short-lived spinoff.
I like him in Foot Fist Way.
I liked him in that
Do
show.
you think anybody wants a roundhouse kick in these pants? I think not, my
I
friend.
liked him in that show in Cleveland with Drew Carey.
Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah. He's in Napoleon Dynamite as that kid.
Oh yeah. But anyway, I used to like him on the show with Drew Carey, whatever that was, with the Buzz Spear.
That show with Drew Carey, whatever that show was called.
Not The Price is Right, the other one. Cleveland Rocks, I think, was the name of it.
Yes. Right, for 5 seasons, the Cleveland Rocks on ABC.
Yes.
But yeah, this was, again, and this is not a bash, but a talky episode.
Yeah.
Very.
Oh yeah.
And that's again where I think kids would get a little antsy.
And it took me more than one viewing to understand that what I thought were flashbacks were just Terry imagining what he was going to do, and then he changes his mind after his conversation with Amanda Waller. Like he was ready to quit being Batman because he kind of felt betrayed by Bruce, and he's imagining breaking up with his girlfriend. He's imagining quitting the Justice League Unlimited or the Justice League Beyond. And then at the end, we see him proposing to his girlfriend instead. But I didn't catch on the first couple times I watched this that wasn't just him remembering what he had done earlier that day. That was him, what he was planning to do later that day. And then, it's kind of like, Wizard of Oz, I wake up from the bad dream and suddenly I love my crappy family kind of thing.
This is Bruce. You're saying this is Bruce Timm's last temptation of Christ?
Perhaps. Mary Magdalene would be Amanda Waller in that scenario.
I know what a fan you are of narrative storytelling, having the arc be the same, Bruce. And so you just gave me a flash, especially when you're talking about the Wizard of Oz. When you looked over at me, that's why I was smiling at you. I can totally see where you're like, so Dorothy's in Kansas, and then all of a sudden she shows up in this, what is this movie?
Here's the sad thing. As a kid, no lie, as a kid, for many years, my family only had a black and white TV. So I didn't understand the color. Going from black and white to color, back to black and white was totally lost on me
It's just
for
different.
years.
How come she's not ticked?
Those slippers don't look so red to me.
Who gives a crap?
She looks amazed at everything. I don't get it. Looks gray and boring to me.
Yellow brick what?
Yeah, watching The Wizard of Oz on a 13-inch black and white TV is not the best way to consume that
Did it have
property.
a crank on the side? How did you guys? And for those of you that are wondering, like that was like 1994. So I mean, it wasn't like.
Honestly, it was probably 1984 when you should have had a color TV in your house.
Oh yeah.
But if you had a color TV in our trailer park, it just got stolen, so you stuck with the black and white.
We're not trying to put on airs here in the park.
You didn't see nothing because you was doing something.
Exactly. You paint it white. Hope they think it's a bassinet.
Honestly, it's exactly like the Chris Rock joke. If you get anything nice, you can't move it in till 3 a.m. when nobody can see it.
Don't you put that box outside your house, man. They'll break on in. They don't care. It's like that's a welcoming sign going, hey, come and steal this TV.
The locks on trailer doors aren't that strong.
I would imagine not. Let's see. I feel like I had something else, but I'm losing it. Yeah, but just overall, it would have been interesting. This would have been his last thing. But I'm glad he got to continue to do stuff.
But even if it was, this is such a great swan song. It's so well done. You know, you can't ask for more than what this episode is.
And Amanda Waller's final line in this episode is like the perfect Amanda Waller line, too. I made a note of this. She says, you want to have a little better life than the old man? Take care of the people you love. Or don't. It's your choice. Like, that's what you can do, but I really don't care because you broke my teacup.
I love how she's simultaneously very mad about the teacups and kind of just like, I can't believe it.
In all fairness, I did manipulate your family's DNA.
Yeah.
And then she's like, but come to think of it, no one really comes over where I have to use all of them.
and I also like how one of the first things she does when Terry McGinnis shows up is kind of make a pass at him. Why are all you superheroes so good looking?
Come on over into the parlor. We'll have some tea. Wink, wink.
And in a strange way, the way she said it reminded me of when I saw Little Richard commenting on how good-looking Bill Clinton was back in the 90s.
What?
That's so weird.
It was on The Tonight Show, man. It
so
stuck out.
weird.
Boy, good looking.
He said, we got us another good-looking president. Not since Kennedy. I can still remember that interview very well.
That is amazing. I don't. That's when you get to the end of the show, folks. When we're
Tutti Frutti, oh Rudy.
Listen,
I prefer the Pat Boone version, by the way.
You would.
That's terrible.
He's as white as they get, everybody.
That is terrible.
All right, before we get to the end of this episode, we have to ask ourselves one very important question: is how does this animated program relate back to our good friend Sylvester Stallone?
Oh, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Huh.
Sylvester Stallone appeared 8 times on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. I understand that most of our listeners are too young to know who Johnny Carson even is, so to help you out, think of him like Jimmy Fallon, except people actually watched Johnny Carson. And he was actually cool and funny, and the only time he ever laughed at his own jokes was when they bombed. However, don't make the mistake of trying to watch an old episode of Carson because you'll be horribly disappointed because the jokes are as dated as the references Bruce was dropping in last week's episode of HMP. Our Flash Season 3 wrap-up. You should give it a listen because it's pretty good. The reason why I bring up Johnny Carson is because Michael Gross was also on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which makes him this week's Stallone connection because he plays the voice of Warren McGinnis, father to Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond and on this very episode of Justice League Unlimited. Old nerds like myself will best remember Michael Gross as the dad on Family Ties, but he also played the gun-toting nut job in all 17 incarnations of the movie Tremors. So why am I shoehorning Michael Gross as the Stallone connection this week? Why have such a weak connection when there's no less than 5 people who have actually worked directly with Stallone? Because Michael Gross was also in the 1991 movie Cool as Ice. The Vanilla Ice movie where Vanilla Ice stars in the remake of Brando's The Wild One, but instead of Marlon Brando, it's Vanilla Ice.
Dump the zero, get with the hero.
You see, in 1991, Vanilla Ice wanted you to believe that Vanilla Ice was the 90s answer to Marlon Brando.
Makes nothing but sense.
He is Jor-El in Justice League.
I was there. I can assure you he was not. Now, famously, Vanilla Ice made $1 million to play the lead in this movie, but what some people probably don't know is that Gwyneth Paltrow was offered the role of the love interest and almost took the part, but her father advised against it. Unfortunately, Michael Gross had no such father figure to advise his career. It took the role of Gordon. Now, to me, the best thing about Cool as Ice is the tagline to this movie. When a girl has a heart of stone, there's only one way to melt it. Just add ice. I really could talk about Cool as Ice forever, but then I wouldn't be able to talk about my second favorite topic of all time, which is movies that star dogs, which Michael Gross has done. Now, there's a few movies that can be called all-time great Christmas movies, and Michael Gross's contribution to the pantheon is the classic 12 Christmas Wishes for My Dog. Which I regret to report isn't about a dog who finds 4 different magic lamps. Instead, it's about a lady looking for some G-rated Christmas love. Disappointing, am I right? Now, for most people, starring in one dog-centric Christmas movie would be enough, but not Michael Gross. He's got other plans. Because Michael Gross also stars in The Dog Who Saved the Holidays, which my insider sources tell me is about a dog who saves the holidays. It also stars Joey Lawrence, Kevin James's brother, and Dean Cain.
God bless Dean Cain.
The Dog Who Saved the Holidays is actually part of a series, and please keep in mind, I am not making any of this up. These movies exist, and they are called The Dog Who Saved Christmas, The Dog Who Saved Christmas Vacation, The Dog Who Saved Easter, The Dog Who Saved Halloween, and The Dog Who Saved Summer.
Oh, my gosh.
I am so excited to learn about these movies and their existence. It's like I gave myself an early birthday present. And yes, I do plan on doing a deep dive into them on my own time. Glorious. Simply glorious. Now, weird little future Green Lantern and Birdman and Metal Armor, let's review Justice League Unlimited Epilogue so that I can get to my Dog Who Saved franchise immediately.
Oh, man, no lie here. When I was in school, I had a friend. This is medical school. I had a friend that had a girlfriend named Autumn. He broke up with her and immediately started dating a girl named Summer. So when you say The Dog Who Saved Summer, I'm picturing this lady I went on a spring break vacation with that was extremely claustrophobic, so she couldn't ride an elevator. She also had a fear of heights, so she refused to take stairs. High maintenance at its best.
So how do you get upstairs?
You drop that girl off on
You get her drunk till she passes out and carry her? I have no idea.
Just like Mr. T on the A-Team.
I was the Howlin' Mad Murdoch of the crew of that spring break.
Now, I will say this. I've got my own slight connection to HMP. I mean, we got Terry McGinnis in this program, voiced by Will Friedle, who was, of course, on Boy Meets World. See, it all goes together. Everybody.
Yeah, man.
It's the circle of HMP life over here, everybody. So, Carlton, man, thank you so much for that recommendation, man. And
this is a great episode and such a hidden gem. Thank you.
Good stuff. Now, if you too would like to tell us what to do, you can go on down to patreon.com/HMP at the $75 level. That's the big boy. But we've got other nice stuff if you want to go at a smaller level, which is, it's understandable.
And if you live in Australia, please do it and make Adam send you something that's expensive to ship.
If you just need to shut up right now. What a jerk. But we really appreciate that. Everybody that helps out with there. You guys will be voting on your next movie very, very soon, so keep an eye out for that. That's patreon.com/HMP. Thank you guys so much. Next week, we are going to be going back to one of the most beloved comic book movies of all time. It was probably my favorite until, kind of the more recent era that we've got here. Spider-Man 2, everybody. We got Spider-Man Homecoming coming out, and it looks like that movie's going to be pretty darn good. So we want to go back and see how that movie's going to, relate to one of the better Spider-Man movies out there.
Just to be clear, is this like the Peter Hammond Spider-Man 2?
Oh, man, that would be so glorious, but no.
No, unfortunately not. But, there's always that HMP vote people could do.
Man, I sure hope we get to watch that one day.
And a little tease for the next episode, I'm going to try to elaborate on my argument that Kirsten Dunst tried to get Tobey Maguire fired because somebody asked us about that. So
That's
next week, folks.
All right.
Excited.
So keep tuned in, everybody. Go review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, a.k.a.
Humdinger.
We'd really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. Join
Do
us.
we want to rate this movie or this show?
Shucks. We didn't do that, did we?
No, we did not.
I'm here
But
wrapping it up.
I didn't know if we were doing something special because it's,
Well, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and let's rate this thing. Bruce, where does Batman? Oh, wait a minute. What is this called again?
Justice League Unlimited, episode 26, epilogue.
There was so much Batman in it, and I got Batman on the brain.
All right. This is a really well-crafted episode. I'm going to go quick since we're getting near the end. This is a really well-crafted episode that connects so much of the Bruce Timm universe together, deals with the transition from Justice League to Justice League Unlimited, has Batman the Animated Series reference in it, and of course closes the book on Batman Beyond. Good on so many levels, even as a Mask of the Phantasm reference. I give it a very solid Tim Drake. You know what? I'm changing my mind. I'm going to change it to a Terry McGinnis.
You set that up at the beginning of the show. Now that I get it. I get it now. Because he said something
I like
about
to
it's more
bookend
like
things, guys.
It's more like a Robin.
He's a master builder over here.
It's what some folks call a callback.
Not me. For me, this is a Tim Drake all day. I really, really, really enjoy this. I think that if there was more cartoons like this, you wouldn't hear me complaining all the time about cartoons on this show.
Yeah, solid Tim Drake as well. Very, very, very good, and it's enjoyable. We told you what you thought. You heard the review. So that's it. We already did all the other stuff because Adam's dumb and he's just whatever.
You're out of sorts, buddy. You're just out of sorts.
You're all used to this by now. At least you should be. So that is it, everybody. Join us next week when we talk about Spider-Man 2. For Sean Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.